Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, the 2025 Baseball Card Hall of Fame ballot that Ray from Philly, Ray Fonio, is sponsoring and has done for the 8th year. There's 71 inductees already, great cards. Again, this is not Baseball Player Hall of Fame, it's the Baseball Card Hall of Fame, so it's only baseball, but a lot of fun to go through it. I encourage people to vote. The voting is open already now up through May 12th. It's a pictorial ballot. It's pretty easy to do. I'll put the link in my notes. I'm actually going to be interviewed by Ray later this week, but I just thought I'm just going to do my own episode instead of doing outtakes, and then Ray can listen and he can ask me some more questions. The sequencing of this, I'm really not swayed by other people's opinions. A lot of these cards I either have or collected or underbidder in an auction. There's some fabulous cards. I don't have them all, so I don't think I'm biased in that way, but they were all in price guides that I was involved with. I've been tracking these cards for a long time, and it's a great effort. Thank you, Ray. Look forward to being on with you. You will have the benefit of listening to this along with other people, and then you can ask me some questions, or I'll elaborate further based on all of your experience and how you want to take, because I do have some advice as this thing plays out. The Baseball Hall of Fame, same problem, is that when you get more and more years, more and more induction classes, there's the thought that there's some dilution. So to try to protect against that is a good thing. The Football Card Hall of Fame has the same issues. And you're also in the situation where most collectors are familiar with newer cards. Now, there's a lot of vintage cards here that are certainly worthy of being in a Baseball Card Hall of Fame, but there ought to be some blend, some proportionality, that it's not all vintage and it's not all modern. It's not all pre-war, but all of those are properly represented. Thanks, sponsors: Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. The whole hobby benefits. I'm going to hope this gets some publicity. I think it's been growing every year. Again, Ray, thanks for the hard work and stepping out and getting it going. It's going strong. 40 candidates on the ballot. You're supposed to pick 10. And it's hard to do it when you go through, they're in chronological order on the pictorial ballot, and you can go through, and if you pick 10 out of the first 20, then I guess you've got to unpick somebody to pick only your 10. And so I went through it. I printed out the ballot just to look at the pictures. Very helpful, even though I know the look of many of these cards. When you see them, you think, yeah, that's a great looking card. I've done a couple things that I want to lay in front of Ray, and same things would apply for the Football Card Hall of Fame. It was hard for me to rank them, to rank 40 fabulous cards. So I gave letter grades, and A was for sure in for me. B was maybe in, probably in, a really good card. C was on the maybe side of probably having to wait. So I think A's and B's are going to be who I'm going to vote for. And then D was, no, I'm not going to vote for it. And F, flunking, is, it's a fabulous card, but to me, it's not going to be Baseball Card Hall of Fame worthy. It doesn't have enough notoriety. There's several other better cards in the same set. The player, it's not something that immediately comes to mind. It needs to have a sizzle, dazzle factor when you see these cards. And the previous inductees are excellent. And I've also talked about the possibility of relegation, as from watching Ted Lasso. In soccer, if you're the last place team, you can be challenged by the first place team of the league below. And so this Baseball Card Hall of Fame, if it starts getting too full, there might be some lesser cards, but I don't even want to think about that right now because that's too controversial and too upsetting to fans of some of these cards. One other thing before I get into the actual cards is I looked at who's already in and looked at the ballot. And if I look at pre-war, which I think is a pretty well-defined distinct category, being before 1948, there's, I think, 14 cards on the ballot that are in that category. And then what I call vintage, which is 1948 to, let's say 1980, 79, 80, somewhere in there, but I just said 80. There are 16 cards on the ballot there. And then for post-1980, so that's 81 and later, there's 10 cards on the ballot. So that makes a total of 40 cards on the ballot. And my sensibility on this, again, I can't legislate anything, but I just thought maybe going forward, as we fill up this Hall of Fame, maybe there ought to be some guidelines like the Baseball Hall of Fame does. We're going to pick 2 from pre-war every year, the 2 best from pre-war. We're going to pick, say, the 5 best from what I think is the golden age, the 48 to 1980. And then post-1980, I was thinking maybe you'd pick 3 from there, because I think that's going to be an increasing number of cards that are popular and very well known from the bidders. And if those vintage categories don't shift more and more. The 80s are considered vintage by some people, not by me, but it's a free world. So I did that. So 20% were pre-war, 50% were golden age, 48 to 80, and post 1980, the more modern, 30% or 3 out of 10. And when you look at who's already in, it's out of 71 already in. I had 19 of them that were pre-war and 41 golden age, 1948 to 80, and only 10 from post 1980 modern age. I think that will increase. I guess my editorial statement is it ought to be tightening up on the pre-war. So we'll see about that. But that is what I did with my ballot, tried to mimic that. And again, just a lot of fun to do it. I told Ray, I am not typical because I'm a more advanced collector. I was a type card collector. I've handled so many cards. I priced them, all that. And so I'm not jaded. I'm appreciative of all these cards, but only some can get in the Hall of Fame. So the Goodwin Champions, Cap Anson, I have that in this time. Okay, that's an early card of one of the original great players, turn of the century. Goodwin Champions has been resurrected. So we see Goodwin cards out there now. And so that's enough for me to vote for Cap Anson, 88 Goodwin Champions. Tris Speaker, in spite of his Texas connection, I just can't vote for him. He's not what I think about when I think of T206. He's one of the great players of the game, but I just can't see putting another T206 of a great player, but it's not what you think about when you think about T206. Same thing with the Cy Young. Again, there ought to be a Cy Young in there, but he's, again, not what I think about when I think of T206. My original ballot, which I think has now been corrected, did not have the Maggie error card on it. And I would leave that as a maybe. I gave that a C. So I'm not voting for it, but it's a worthy card. Again, it's one of the cards that I think about when I think of T206, way ahead of Cy Young or Tris Speaker. Ramley, Walter Johnson, I have that as a B, not a sure shot, but I'm voting for it. Okay, it's the best card in a beautiful set that even when I first got in the hobby, those were revered T cards, very revered for their ornate design and on pretty much every collector's want list. They were very tough. Next was the triple folder Ty Cobb. I have that as getting in. Okay, I don't like the oversizedness, but again, it was a noted card always. Now, 14 Crackerjack, Grover Cleveland Alexander, that also, especially the 1914 version, is a noteworthy card, but sorry, I'm not voting for it. Again, in fact, what's the news, Jeremy Lee's purchase of the 1914 Shoeless Joe Jackson. That's what I think about. Actually, the 1915 Crackerjack Joe Jackson's in the Hall of Fame. And so you're not going to put the 14 in there. The 1922 American Caramel Babe Ruth, I'm not having that on the ballot. I think his key cards are his rookie cards and his Goudies. And so I just think there's not enough focus demand on that. It's a great card, but there's a lot of those caramel cards in the early 20s. But I want to get into the teens, especially when he was still a Red Sox. 25 Exhibit, Lou Gehrig. To me, it's the most famous oversized rookie card. It's certainly a vintage. So if it's the recognized true rookie card of Lou Gehrig being from 1925, then that's the first ballot in for me. Hank Greenberg, great card. I voted for him too, the 34 Gowdy. 34 Diamond Stars, Jimmy Fox. I think the Diamond Stars are getting a little more notoriety in their art deco and design treatments, and Jimmy Fox is probably underrated. Bob Feller, heads up, even with the cartoons. I love that card, but that's not what I think of. I think of Joe DiMaggio when I think of that set. 41 Play Ball Pee Wee Reese. Again, he's not important enough Hall of Famer, but it's his rookie card of a really iconic, very important Brooklyn Dodger. So he's a maybe. Keep him on the ballot. 41 Play Ball, Joe DiMaggio in color there. That's my favorite Play Ball, Joe DiMaggio. So keep him on the ballot. In fact, the DiMaggio brothers as a triplet would be really cool, but I don't think we're putting in cards in groups. 49 Bowman Campanella. I'm keeping him on the ballot, but it is a boring looking card. It's washed out. It shows him in simpler days, but there's no action, and he was a great player. I'm keeping it on the ballot. The 1950 Toleteros, Josh Gibson. When I think of either a Negro League card or a Dominican or Cuban or a Puerto Rican card, this is a card that I think of, and it's really come on strong. So I am voting that in. Monty Irvin, a great guy, but it's just not a tough card, and it's not a card that people are aggressively seeking. So I'm taking him off the ballot. 51 Bowman Whitey Ford, condition rarity as a number one card. I'm keeping it on the ballot because I think it's a beautiful card, rookie card, all that, but not going to. Andy Pafko, There's a story with that. If you could put a PSA 9 or 10 PAFCO in the Baseball Card Hall of Fame, that'd be one thing. But you mostly see 3s and 4s and 5s, and that's just not very exciting. Okay, it's only a condition rarity. It's not. Klaczewski, yes, that in my neighborhood, I was collecting in 1957, and the bare sleeves, muscle pose did have notoriety, but not enough for me to vote for it. Drysdale, same thing. If he'd never had Koufax overshadowing him, he was a great, durable, reliable, hard-nosed pitcher. So I don't have him, even with his rookie card. Maris, same thing. I'd rather have Mantle. I'd rather have 58 Mantle than a 58 Maris. McCovey, same thing. I remember when he came on so strong that first year, yeah, I'm not voting for it. Steve Carlton, same thing. If you're from Philadelphia or St. Louis, that's one thing. But if you crack a 65 set, you're looking at that card. But it's not huge bucks for, actually, it's a pretty tough card, I think. The Seaver, I am voting for Seaver. And I'm not voting for the 68 Seaver, even though that's a better looking card. It's hard to go against the rookie. And then, surprise of surprises, I'm not voting for the 3D Clemente 1968 Topps. It's more of a test issue. There's a few of them out there. I have one. And it's a great card, but it's so limited that I think when you go in the Hall of Fame, you ought to have some connection. Honus Wagner card, you don't have it, but you've heard about it, you've seen it, and all that. Johnny Bench, I'm keeping it on but he just doesn't sell for as much. So his 68 rookie card, I'll keep it on the ballot. Now, Dick Allen or Richie Allen, that's a tough card, 71 Topps, but I'm not going to vote for it, even though I think he was underrated. And the Charlotte O's, I think it's the orange one of Cal Ripken. I'm voting for that. Of the minor league cards, that's about as good as it gets. O-Pee-Chee, Tony Gwynn, no, I'm not voting for that. Again, it's too subtle. If I were going to vote for something, O-Pee-Chee, I'd have to think about it more. Think about it. If you're going to bring that in, it's not necessarily a North American or global, whatever, but I'd consider a Venezuelan card of some of those Venezuelan cards. That might be interesting. 84 update, Clemens, I was close to voting for that. I want to keep that on there. I think he'll eventually get the Hall of Fame. Bonds, did not vote for him. Same thing. The Tiffany, actually, that probably his best card. Again, it's just a gradable thing. They all came in factory sets, and a lot of them got graded. It's not a card of the people. Maddox, again, just it's too easy. 90 Leaf Thomas, Frank Thomas, I won't be voting for that, even though in 1990, that was a huge card and really was an important card in the hobby. And then the Upper Deck Reggie, surprise, I am voting for that. I believe that's the first Peck-pulled certified autograph. We have Upper Deck to thank for that. And Reggie, I think I met Reggie. He's really smart and he's out there, and I want to reward that. So same thing with the 91 Upper Deck Michael Jordan. I've softened on that. I think that's a curiosity, but it's a baseball pose. It was a special edition. So I did vote for that too. Desert Shield Chipper. No, I'm not voting for that. I think that there's some counterfeits attempted. I did vote for Mariano in his street clothes, where he looks like he's about 15 years old, because again, that is an iconic pose. And that was part of the reason why the rookie card RC logo was instituted. That was one of the reasons when I was in discussions with the Players Association that was an example of something we don't want. We don't want guys that are 3 or 4 years away getting an early rookie card that takes the frosting off the top of the cake. And then finally, the Ichiro and Albert Pujols 2001 Topps Chrome traded, that'll eventually get in or something like that, but not this time. So that's it. Thanks, Ray. And thanks, everybody. I look forward to talking to Ray later this week, and hopefully he can push back or amplify some of the things I've mentioned, because I want to take a good thing and make it better if that's possible. So thanks, everybody. Be back again in a couple of days.